Hi. We are observing some big trends which are going to completely redefine the way we have run our businesses. Most of you are familiar with these terms. We call them SMAC, the social, mobility, cloud and big data. Now, what goes beneath that? Why is it important for companies to really embrace these trends? These are really business decisions. These are not IT decisions, even though the trends may resemble very closely to IT terms. What drives a business to really look at these trends sincerely, positively? Businesses at a very basic level have really three objectives. The first objective is how fast they can accelerate their revenue, how quickly they can grow their revenue. The second objective is how quickly can they squeeze costs out of their operations. And the third one is how can they do it in a risk-free manner. Grow their revenues, reduce costs, and do it in a risk-free way. That really drives any business conversation in any business decision. For the first time, we are observing these trends which have the potential to really make an impact different from what IT has traditionally made. A traditional IT decision or an IT discussion has always revolved around reducing costs. Increasing productivity, yes, but mainly about reducing costs of operations. How can you squeeze out more and more costs out of current operations? The advantage with these trends is that today IT is in a position to really add a different dimension to that conversation. What's that dimension? How do you accelerate your revenue? The reason why IT has so far not succeeded in having that conversation was because the way our IT was organized. We have run our data centers and our IT as silos. And it was good, pretty good while it lasted. That kind of an architecture evolved over 2 decades, and they did a pretty good work while they were being used. But in today's context, they're really obsolete. They need to be changed. If customers really have to move towards some of these big tectonic changes, these transformative changes, then they have to break those silos. How do they break those silos? The whole concept of software-defined data center actually allows customers to break those silos. What is a software-defined data center? A software-defined data center is really where you decouple the relationship between software and hardware, which is traditionally limited either. In former years, the innovation and the pace at which hardware would accelerate was much higher than that of software. But in the last few years, software innovation has outstripped hardware innovation by some distance. We know that the business value really comes from software. Hardware is the enabler. Wouldn't it be better if we decouple the two and allow each to grow independently? That's the whole concept of software-defined data center. In software-defined data center, we abstract the hardware infrastructure, whether it is servers, whether it's storage, whether it's network, whether it's security, that get pulled into the software-defined data center as a service. You are no longer locked in to any particular brand or type of hardware. You could inject the flexibility required for you to change any piece at any given point of time without compromising on the speed at which you are doing your business, the speed at which you are running. And that's great. You fix 2 problems. IT traditionally was very adept of squeezing costs out, reducing the cost of operation. With this innovation, IT today has the opportunity to really help businesses grow and accelerate revenue. But remember, there is a third thing I talked about, risk. How do we do this? How do we make this transition in the most risk-free manner? The reason why businesses want to embrace these big trends and make that change, make that big jump, is because they want to accelerate business. They want to accelerate business decisions. When you accelerate business decisions, the propensity to make errors also goes up proportionately. How do you reduce it? The whole objective of today's conversation is the trust factor. How can you move business faster? How can you drive innovation faster? How can you squeeze costs out without putting the business at risk? The announcement that we are making today help customers make that transition from a platform 2 to a platform 3. Help them move on along the way to their journey to social mobility, cloud, and big data in the most risk-free manner. So the speed at which you do business should not really force you to compromise on the risk aspect of your business. This, we believe, will make a huge difference at which for the customers in India, and we're sure that we would see a huge amount of customers embrace this technology in a short span of time.
So what are your offerings?
So we have a portfolio of products which we call the data protection and availability division. The thing that this portfolio of product enables is to help a customer enable the continuity of enable the continuum of data protection. So you have let me explain what that means. So the continuum of data protection is really the different levels of availability that you would choose for any particular application, depending upon its importance to your business. Not all applications are equal. Some applications are more important to your business. You may never want those applications to go down. So the solution that helps you enable that is continuous availability. Irrespective of what the situation, irrespective of what the problem, your business goes on uninterrupted. At the other extreme of this continuum is the need for archiving information which you no longer need, which are no longer being practiced or used actively by the business. But you don't want to dispose it of yet. You don't want to destroy or discard that information yet, because it may come in handy at a later point of time. So you want to preserve the data without spending too much money, and you need to know when you want the data, how to acquire it, how to get it. So that's really what these product suite, these product portfolio does for customers. Helps them enable that continuum of data availability and data protection.
Who are the early adopters in terms of industry verticals?
So, in India, we have found that the fastest adopters are really the ITS companies, because the business is driven by technology. They are in the business of technology. So they want to use technology to accelerate their business process. But who is this applicable for? Who are the customers who are adopting this technology? Everybody. Manufacturing customers, telecom customers, banking and financial customers, healthcare customers, any industry vertical that you may pick. This has got far-reaching implications to just about any business that you can think of.
You spoke about some of the customers already done the pilot. Have you received any response from them?
I think the feedback is fantastic from our customers. Anybody who has evaluated these products, they find that we are dramatically transforming the way they have approached IT traditionally, positively. So some of the things are not really limitations of technology. Some of the things are limitations because of the way two groups within IT behave and talk to each other. There has always been an invisible wall between the application team and the infrastructure team. These products and the new architectures that have these technologies have helped evolve have really broken down that wall that existed traditionally. It has helped them achieve best of both worlds. The application team gets what they want, they get the autonomy and the control that they always crave for, and the infrastructure team is able to decide on the policies and the process without compromising on their control. So it helps customers achieve best of both worlds.
What are the main factors that is blocking this kind of growth? Is it a regulation playing a larger role?
So software-defined data center is really a concept. How quickly Indian customers are able to embrace these defining trends of cloud, mobility, cloud, big data, mobility, and social, it really depends on how regulations evolve in a country. I think some of the things that are really holding back customers and enterprises from adopting these trends, big trends, rapidly, is the lack of clarity around the implications of adopting or using some of these technologies. So government could do a lot of constructive work around it, mainly around regulations. We don't want the government to really get deeply involved in the execution of some of these trends, but regulatory changes are definitely welcome. I think that would go a long way in helping customers embrace some of these new trends and technologies.
You rated Australia and New Zealand on the the top of regulatory chart. How do they do differently?
So I think they have taken a proactive view. One of the things that Australia has always been at the leading edge of virtualization adoption, and now adoption of cloud, public cloud, across the world, not just in Asia Pac. And one of the things that has really enabled that country to accelerate the adoption of these technologies is a very sophisticated regulatory environment. So they have very well etched out laws and regulations which tell exactly what the do's are and what the don'ts are. Now, when you are aware of what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do and what the implications of doing something are, you can put that to practice and make that use that to make business decisions.
Last question, can you share some of your strategies to build business now in India?
I think strategy, clearly, I think India has enormous advantage. The kind of talent pool that we have, the demographic composition of a country is so favorable for us to really, put us on a very fast growth trajectory. We have a young population. Our education system, it really works to our advantage. Language skills that our country has really add a different competitive advantage versus most other countries in Asia Pac. It's just that we need to get our act together. We need to combine really the effect of all these advantages that we have and put that to good use so that our businesses can accelerate. We have seen that happen for other countries in Asia Pac and facilitated by government. We saw how Japan accelerated growth. We then saw how Korea accelerated growth. Now we are seeing how China is dominating the world of business and how fast they are growing. It's just a matter of making the best use of what they have. In terms of talent, in terms of advantages, competitive advantage, I think India probably is better placed than most of these countries are. It's just that we need better governance, we need better compliance, better regulatory norms in the country, and we need a mechanism to bring all these competitive advantages together and harness that advantage towards the success of business.